Welcome to another live episode of Halftime Adjustments. It's your host, Eddie Arnell. My man, Mr. J. Lou.
Yes, sir. Tighten up, baby.
Tighten up, man. G Witt is out tonight. He'll be back next week. J. Lou, man, here we are, man. Week 2 of the 2024 Tennessee Titans, man. Preseason. We've got a good sample size now, J. Lou, man.
Yeah.
2 weeks, 2 victories, Last night was dramatic fashion as Braden Narveson hits a 46-yarder walk-off, man, after he kicks a 59-yarder.
Right.
To take the lead. So, man, good for the rookie, man, from NC State. But let's break it down, man, because, we didn't see any starters, but we saw some backups, some reserve guys.
Mm-hmm.
Some questions still remain, J. Lou. So give me your assessment. Two weeks. Sample size, but let's go back for a second before we get into the game, man. Let's talk about the camp this past week, and what we heard coming out, particular out of the big dog eating over there, Big Jeff, man. So talk to me, man. Talk to me about this past week's camp with Seattle.
Hey, man, if anybody hadn't seen the video of Big Jeff throwing that offensive lineman around like he was a little rag doll, man, I think we've always said nobody can block Jeff one-on-one.
Right.
And, that was in a one-on-one drill that video came out in. He's a man on a mission. I'll just put it that way. You like what you heard out of the camp, quiet as this kept. Now, again, I know it was a scare there where they thought he went down with a hamstring, but Treylon Burks is putting together a nice camp. Now, again, we've seen this before. Now, you got to remember, and I texted y'all earlier in the week when they first mentioned his hamstring, and it was just a cramp. But that's
right.
how, social media world, things get put out so fast. They try to be the first one to get it, and they're wrong. So, but when I saw it first come out, I was like, oh, here we go again. These darn joint practices are no good for him, because if you remember, the same thing happened to him in Minnesota last year. But from the highlights and stuff I saw of it, man, it looked like one of the big issues I've had with Treylon is just he always acts like he's got the jump to catch passes.
I know.
I think you saw this past week that was taken out of. He was taken out of that way, and actually catching with his hands and using his size, man. And when you hear him talk now, because he done some interviews this past week after practice and whatnot, he's a confident player. And I'm not gonna harp on the past, but I got to bring it up. We've been mentioning and been saying, and not to talk about the coaching staff, but he's a different type of player, just like everybody else in this generation of players. You've got to get to them a certain way. And sometimes that old school yelling and, I'm afraid that if I drop a pass, you're pulling me out and putting me in a doghouse. You never know. And Eddie, you played ball. I played in high school. We don't know what that does to somebody's mentals when you're thinking about making mistakes.
Right,
now you've got a coaching staff that's, let's just be honest, they're encouraging mistakes, particularly in practice, because that's the only way that you get better. And you see that with him now as somebody who's playing more confident. The best person that shows me that is Mason Kinsey, and we'll get to him later on. But think about how Kinsey is playing and balling. And again, he's just playing. I mean, we've mentioned it on the show last week. They seem to be playing more free and loose. And again, when you don't have that, I'm overthinking, or if I mess up in the back of your head, because you're not on that. I mean, just think about it. There was a pecking order. Derrick Henry could mess up. We know ain't nothing happened to him, but there was a pecking order. Seems like everybody's on the same page this year, and you just seeing that, and that's the tone you continue to hear in camp. But overall, I thought from everything that came out, with the exception of the offensive line, and again, we've warned everybody, it's going to be a work in progress.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, I don't. If you looked at the past 2 games and don't see that it's an improvement from last year, I'm not saying it is great. If you don't see an improvement, then you don't know ball. But I think that's gonna be the wild card that continues to come up. But I will say I like what the coaching staff is doing, particularly Callahan, from a play calling standpoint, to kind of mask that.
Yeah, and just to go back on the past week, you brought up Treylon Burks, because I think he's having an outstanding camp. He wasn't just beating anybody. He was beating a Pro Bowl rookie cornerback, Devin Witherspoon. I mean, multiple times, right? And so he's having a great camp. Like you said, I think the coaching is the difference, man. It's the key when you got when you got coaches that are encouraging, that are actually teaching. You know, you listen to the interviews of the players. You know, I don't have to say it. You can hear them in the way they talk. I mean, they're saying that camp is harder than the games. That's crazy to me. Right? So when they get to the games, everything is different and it slows down, and they're prepared for it. And so, yeah, man, Big Jeff. You know, what can we say about him? Sweat had a good week of camp.
Yeah,
Brownlee still making plays. I mean, a Hooker, you saw him covering the tight end and picking, getting some picks. You know, but J. Lou, here's the thing, man. Because I saw a lot of people talking about this. Calvin Ridley getting locked up by Tariq Woolen. Now, Tariq Woolen is an exceptional athlete.
He's Richard Sherman 2.0.
Yeah. He is unusually huge for a cornerback. You don't cornerback that's 6'3", 215, 20 pounds, run fast and can cover. But he's all pro for a reason, right? And so do you make an issue of Calvin Ridley not being able to get open? Because there's a lot of things that goes on in a one-on-one matchup, right?
Right.
Full offense on the field. And so, but is there concern there?
No, it's not concern for me for the simple fact that I think that play calling can scheme you where you're not pressed like that. Again, a lot of things you saw were one-on-one jams. I mean, it's a lot different when you got 10 of the guys out there. And I think his work has spoken for him. I don't think that you will see. I think enough of Callahan as a coach and maybe coming up with something that I think he will scheme up ways for Ridley to get open on bigger corners. And to your point, it ain't too many of them in the league like that that's going to be as big as him that they're playing. But, I mean, you know, that's Treylon Burks holds his own with him because they're about the same size. But to your point, Ridley's a little smaller. But I think that's where coaching schemes him up. I think more, if anything, I think it was good to see, especially just to kind of continue to help Will Levis with timing and them to see how to adjust to that. Because, I mean, you know, if you go against the corner and know they can take that away, then what's your next step you go? So I don't have no concerns about it because, again, I think that Ridley, we've seen enough he can speak for himself.
Man, appreciate that. Yeah, so, man, come on in, get your comments, get your question in. Welcome, Carlton, man, tonight. Carlton Ross joining us tonight. Edward Arnell III, man, appreciate you coming out. There we go. Oh, my God, it's Louis. Appreciate you coming, man. Joe back in the building, man. Appreciate you as well. Darius and everybody else is coming in, man. Come on and get your comments, get your questions. Mikey says right off the bat, man. Mikey Jones says Trey Avery got to go. So we gonna talk about that, man. And so so let's break it down this way, man. Let's look at the coaching from what we saw the past 2 weeks. So from San Francisco to this week, you've already kind of talked about the play calling. I love the play calling by Callahan. He's mixing it up really well. Particularly his third down play caller, right? And I'll pull up the stats in just a minute. But, you know, he's getting a lot of people involved. You see what kind of offense this team is going to have. A lot of 3-4 wide sets, you know, very rarely under center. But they do have some under center plays. But so your thoughts last night, man, because not only did you see the twos, but you see the quarterback, the number 2 position quarterback battle. In your opinion, is there somebody leading at this point after what you saw last night?
After what I saw last night, I still think Mason is leading. You'd be a fool to say that you don't see improvement from Malik. But I think, and this is what it is. Malik to me seems like somebody that's thriving off competition. So he's gonna make and you heard Callahan mention it today in his press conference. They'll make a decision this time after next Sunday's game on that QB2. But I thought Malik played better after he followed Mason and saw what Mason Rudolph was able to put together. I think when he first came out, again, he's still continuing to I just feel like he's in his own head a little bit still, where he's trying his hardest to be a pocket passer and throw the ball when sometimes he's waiting. He had 2 good throws last night that you saw him go through progressions on a check down, and that wouldn't happen last year.
Right.
But again, I still think there's some opportunities where he's holding the ball just a tad too long. Mason Rudolph he should be leading. Let's just be honest. He should be leading because he's a vet and he started in this league. I mean, he lost a playoff game last year, if I'm not mistaken, from Pittsburgh. So it helped get him there. So he did. He just looks to have more control over the offense. I will continue to say I'm glad to see that Malik is getting an opportunity to conduct plays that fit his skill set.
I love that.
Now last night, I think he had a couple balls that were just a little too high. He threw what they like to call hospital balls to some of those wide receivers. And to their credit, every single one of them held on to the ball. Now they probably was in the ice bath last night or tonight, but I think he's got to settle down on that. And again, if he could speed up his decision making even a fraction faster now, as far as reading his progressions, then I think he can overtake it. But right now, if next week was week 1 of the season, I would think that Mason Rudolph is the starter.
Yeah,
I mean the number 2, not starter, number 2.
Yeah, and I thought it was really close. I mean, last week I said Malik had the upper hand, but I think after last night, what we saw is Mason kind of even it back up or jumping in front. And to your point, and somebody said it's because Mason looks more comfortable in the pocket. Malik still hold on to the ball a little bit too long, like you said. He threw a couple high balls last night, and so. But we'll see. And do they keep 3 quarterbacks this year? It just depends because the wide receiver room is so deep. You might go 7 receivers this year because of how that's breaking down. So as we mentioned, the wide receivers, man. I can't say enough about David Martin Robinson, Jaquan Jackson, man. I mean, even Mason Kinsey had a ball game last night. NWI, man, he is Mr. Reliable. He is Mr. Consistency. Every time we need to play, man.
You can count. I asked one of my entertainment buddies last night what are the over-under odds that NWI catches the first touchdown pass for the Titans? Because it's got to be pretty high, and it's on plus money, and you better take that. Because I mean, at this point, would you bet against it? With all those weapons you got out there, NWI somehow is going to make the first touchdown pass catch in Chicago. Just mark my words. You're right. I mean, he's just and I heard a lot of people, and I thought Callahan did a great job explaining it today. You heard a lot of people that was like, how is he out there taking shots and Treylon Burks, who somebody that's not playing. And as Callahan put it today, that's 2 different positions at the wide receiver. People got to remember that Burks is replacing Hopkins. Right. So he literally fit that mold where NWI can fit several roles that he's got him fitting. So plus I thought that, given what you got last night, NWI was basically the veteran back there. And you've got to have at least a receiver that either one of those quarterbacks when you're trying to evaluate can have somebody they can really depend on who's been there, been in big games, et cetera, and been with the team for a while. But you can't say enough about him. You talked about the rookie. I'll be honest. And again, I know we're going to do our show, if not next week or whatever, when we do our 53. Right now, I got him at 7 wide receivers, man.
I don't see how you can't. I don't see how you can't. I really don't. It's hard. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
And 4 tight ends.
I got 4 tight ends. I have 4 tight ends right now as well. And I mean, so think about it. You get 53. That's 11 right there in just 2 positions.
11.
It's gonna be some deep cuts. This is the first time that I think it's gonna be a little difficult because again, you've really got some receivers given, and what makes it different than years previous, the last decade. Your offense is more pass friendly per se. When you look at some of the formations, so that's what makes it even a little unique when we talking about 7 wide receivers and 4 tight ends because. You've got bodies that on a given Sunday, you might carry 5 or 6 receivers that are up and active.
Yeah, and I think it was Nathan. David Martin Robinson is number 88, man. That guy, man.
Tight end, right?
Yeah. Golly, he's ridiculous. His hands, his run after catch. I mean, he makes the big catch across the middle and gets his ribs taken out from the back, and so I'm very impressed, and it's to me, and I know everybody else see it too, man. What I love so much about the play call and the scheme is that we scheming and we're getting people open with the scheme, Because what you saw last night is a mirror image of the defense we run, right? Seattle presses, they play that man. Why? Because Mike McDonald, Denard Wilson, they used to coach the guys, same system, and so you saw it last night, and man, it's the same thing. And so it was good to see, particularly he's got some plays for David Martin Robinson that he schemes and he's wide open every time. Every single time. So excellent coaching. The to speak more about the coaching, there's some work to do on the defensive side of the ball. I know we're going to talk about defense in a minute, but the tackling could be better in the secondary. You saw Matthew Jackson miss some tackles, which was concerning. Anthony Weaver. What Weaver, man, is like
Rashad Weaver.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Anthony. Yeah. Rashad Weaver. I just don't know if he makes the squad. And I agree with you, though, because last night we were texting, and you said only because the depth at the edge is where it is.
That's the only thing.
He makes the 53.
That's the only thing that saves him right now. Because at this point, Harold, that's the rookie. He's definitely surpassed and called him.
2 sacks last
night. He's playing that role position well. You'll develop him. He's a rookie. You'll develop him on pass rush against the run, etc. But right now, he's attacking the tackle. You saw him bull rush.
Yes.
He ran over a tackle last night. So he's made it. He's made the team. But Weaver, man, Weaver's think about it. We want Weaver to spell our guys. He's out there not really making impacts against 2s and 3s.
I know it. And the problem is he don't set the edge. He's such a big guy.
Yes.
He's such a big guy, but he has a problem with setting the edge. And so I was watching him and Harold, the rookie, last night in particular for that reason. So the difference I saw with Harold, he was punching, extending his arms, getting that upfield shoulder of the tackle up so he could keep his outside leverage. Weaver was just getting hooked.
I mean,
he wasn't even pressing the tackle away from him. So I'm like, man, what is going on? This is what, year 3 for him? Year 4?
Yes, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4.
And so it's like I don't know if he's been affected by the coaching that we used to have. And here he is. But to me, he's not playing like a guy that's his job's on the line. Because it's on the line. But like you said, only because of the depth currently that we have on this team at edge. Unless they add some more people, he'll probably make to 53. Which he'll come in and spell every so often. Yeah, he would flash. Last year, I thought maybe he might have turned the corner some because he had, he made some plays. But we hadn't seen him splash at all in preseason so far. Nobody's mentioned him. And so, yeah, man, that's just tough to see.
Yeah.
But I'm going to jump. I know we jumped ahead a little bit to the defense, but running back position, Chestnut's your number 3.
Easy. Oh yeah, hands down.
Easy.
Hands down. Now this is the other wild card.
Yes.
I think they keep 4 because I think
Smalls.
No.
Oh, Haskins for special teams.
Special teams. Yeah, he's a special teams ace. Yeah. But again, I just can't. I don't envy being Rand and those guys in the room when you make it a 53 because theoretically. You don't need to have 4 running backs, but you might need one for special teams. And so where does that take another position from that you'll go light on? Because Haskins, I think we all can agree, Smalls has passed him as far as if you're looking for true running back.
Well, you saw it last night.
Oh, yes.
The carries, right?
The carries and all. But when you talk about special teams, and you've got to have that good core special teams, he's phenomenal on special teams. So that's going to be one that's tricky. But yeah, Chestnut by far makes it is your number 3. And it's not even close.
It's not close. And here's the telling part about the game last night, which it seemed like Haskins didn't have that many carries. But here's the thing that this will make you think. He had 5 carries. Mm-hmm. Jabari Small had 7. But it seemed like Jabari Small had more of an impact in the game.
Yes.
Haskins had one good run where he kind of was shifty through the line, but I saw a lot of times he missed the cutback opportunity. I don't know what's wrong with him, but again, there's another guy that makes the team because of special teams, you said.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the O-line real quick, man. The O-line depth that we saw last night. What does anything stick out to you there? I mean, not a bad a game by them. They gave up some sacks. Now, I will say this from last week. The false start penalties were horrendous this week.
That's where I was just going to get at. I mean, I hate to beat them in practice this week with Bill Callahan, and it ain't so much the false starts as it was the holding penalties. How many 3rd and shorts turned into 3rd and double digits because of holding penalties? So I think that's something that, again, you can clean up and coach up. But again, from a technique standpoint and all, you've got to continue to love what you're seeing. Now, I will say this. Outside of Brunskill, the depth You got to hope that starting five
right.
can make it, because
Through
I
the
mean
whole season.
it's scary. It's scary when you start looking at the depth behind them, when you want guys to come in and have to play for a while. Like I thought, somebody that was shining in the offseason and all was John O, and he just looked terrible to me last night. So again, you can see the coaching and the technique from the guys there. And again, that's Bill Callahan. You can see his magic that he's working. I think that this is one of those years though where we've got you again. We were dead last year. If you can be in the 20s this year, and that's if you can be average, so 16 to 20 in that range, you give this offense a chance, and I think that's all you've got to look for when you talk about your starting five. But yeah, last night I thought once they settled in, and again, it's a lot different when you think about the offensive line last night and them having to go back and forth to the receiver. I mean, to the quarterbacks. You got two different quarterback styles between Malik and between Mason Rudolph. So not only is the cadence difference, but Malik is more prone to take off if he had to. So just being able to play through that, I thought was good as far as how we switched up the quarterbacks, but still some work to go on the offensive line.
Yeah, Brunskill, he's good and solid at that center position as a backup. Rupchick, he struggled last night, so he had a few plays here and there. But yeah, John O, like you said, man, he really struggled. He had some false start penalties, and even Jalen Duncan had poor Jalen Duncan. He might be thinking from last
year, man.
False starts, some holes, and so it's kind of sloppy a little bit for the offensive line last night. But like you said, the depth is concerning behind the first team. So Eddie Gray, man, appreciate you joining us. Now, he said he didn't watch, but he's curious about how the QBs did. And so we hit that a little early, but I will go back, man. So, last week I said Malik had the advantage over Mason, but after last night, Mason's probably back on top as number 2. They both struggled early with moving the offense. But Malik's still holding the ball a little bit too long, threw some high balls last night. Mason, he did a little bit better. As I said, he's got the up on him right now. But I think the battle still goes into next week, or to this week rather, and we'll see. But don't be surprised if Mason Rudolph is the backup to Will Levinson. So yeah, man, the offensive line to receive. So we hadn't seen a lot of tight ends, and somebody asked about Chig. Where's Chig been? We hadn't seen a lot. We saw David Martin Robinson. We hadn't seen Josh Wiley. Chig didn't really make any noise this week either.
So not major. I mean, like, you've heard nothing, which that could go either way. You've heard nothing good and you've heard nothing bad.
Right.
You've heard all about. Now, Wiley, I think, is in the protocol, if I'm not mistaken. I think he got concussed.
Yeah, that's right.
This
right.
week.
Yep.
So that he's down one. And I don't think they expect him to suit up this week, maybe. Now you should see, according to Callahan, you should see Chig Sunday, because he
starters.
He plans on playing them 3 series, and 3 series could be a quarter and a half.
Right.
For him next Sunday. So I think you'll see Chig next Sunday. But yeah, that's you've heard more of the backup tight ends as far as oh my God, that you named a few minutes ago.
David Martin.
David Martin, as far as him, which is good. I mean, he's played his way into making a tough call.
Yes.
As far as do they keep 4 tight ends?
Yeah, I like you said, man, with the way that Jaquan is playing, and NWI, Burks, Hopkins, Ridley. I mean, Kearis Jackson, his kick return ability.
Yeah,
I just don't see how they won't keep 7 receivers and the 4 tight ends. So that just begs the difference. Who else? So where are we gonna come up short? Because I believe that they'll have at least 8 offensive linemen.
I think they carry 8.
Yeah, and I think where we'll see the shortage at is middle linebacker, because of Jamal Adams, because of James Williams, because of those guys that can play in the box, like we've been talking about. And so, but we'll see, man. It's a lot to go. Hooker can play in the box, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball, man. We kind of hit Weaver already. Rashad Weaver, he's playing his way right off this team.
Right off the team.
Molden started last night. Didn't really see a lot. Saw him in the end on the tackle. Where's Elijah Molden in this, J. Luke? Because that's another spot. If they keep 7 receivers, if they keep 4 tight ends, if they keep 8 offensive linemen, now you're looking at the secondary, because you got to remember, we hadn't seen Jamal Adams yet. We hadn't seen Quandre Diggs yet. But they're ramping up to play this week, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
You got Hooker. you know, Molden might make it because of the numbers thing, because Shaheem is
Shaheem Carter.
Shaheem Carter might be a special teams guy strictly, but man, Elijah Moore, it's looking kind of bleak.
It's looking kind of bleak from him. Again, he had like 6 tackles, and he was in on a couple good ones,
right.
But he's not making any. What, year 4 for him? 4, I believe.
Yeah.
You should be making impact plays,
right.
And they brought in essence, 2 guys, basically to pair back with Amani Hooker, because you just didn't go take a spot,
right?
So yeah, he's one that I wouldn't be shocked if he's cut. I'm like you, I expect him to make the 53, but that's not gonna be one if we see him releases. It's gonna catch me off guard, because I think he's kind of outplayed. He can't really blitz. He can't really cover the tight end. I mean, he's just still out there. So that's one that, again, you would expect, especially when you talk about the 2s and the 3s that was out there the most of the night. You would expect him, somebody who's been in the league 4 or 5 years and seen it, to be able to take that next level. And he just hadn't took it yet.
Yeah, I want to go back to this comment about Carlson, man. He posted it early in the show. He says, we talk about the reversing of the PD suspension. Usually never happens. Is there evidence suggesting that testing was flawed? Or perhaps he never did Arden Key use the substance he was being with. So I'm not going to say never. I'm not aware of it happening, but that is a weird situation, because usually those things stick.
Yeah. So Carlton, this is one that I'll be digging to see, because nothing. So what you have to remember, nothing has ever officially came out from the league or anything around it. I mean, it was reported that he was facing a 6-game suspension. So think about it. And when I say coming out from the league as far as being official, his was reported the day after Danico. Danico's was official. You got that from the NFL. He put out his statement, saying what happened, etc. You never heard nothing from Arden Keys except that he was facing it. And I know that that's doing the process. And the big thing is, it was said that it was overturned, which means they didn't reduce the suspension. So overturned means you're not suspended at all, but you still haven't heard that officially. So it'll be unique to see when stuff does come out, how that went about. Because I'm like you, Ed. I'm not going to say never, but I'm about 99.8% sure that I've never seen one where you hear it. You might get it reduced from 6 games to about 4, but you still suspended. His is completely overturned, which is unique.
Right. And so good for the Titans, because they needed him to play, because the edge depth is where it is right now.
Yes.
Another guy we could talk about on defense real quick, man, is Jack Gibbons. Is he done? You know what? I didn't even know he played last night, because he didn't make a play. But then I saw his stats. Yeah, he had 2 tackles. He had 2 tackles on the game.
I didn't even know Dr. Gibby played.
I didn't either. I don't think he played much.
Did he start? Because I thought
I don't think
started.
So. He did start.
That's weird.
Him and Reese started.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So the only thing, I think Chance Campbell has played.
Oh, yeah.
And again, we got to remember, sometimes you can have these preseason heroes.
Yep.
I think Chance Campbell fits this defense.
He does.
Than he has in the past. Dr. Gibby is still great against the run. Great. Great as far as tackling, and very smart. But he's just not. He's a liability in coverage. With that being said, I think the one thing that might save Gibbons' spot, even if they do select Chance Campbell, is that the rookie Cedric Gray. He's been out with injury and missed.
When you heard what Callie said today,
yes,
it's hard to catch up.
It's hard to catch up. That has practice squad written all over it.
All over it.
And I think that'd be the only thing that might have Gibbons start. But Chance Campbell is playing his way. And the true test will be this coming Sunday.
Yes,
to see if Chance takes a few reps with Murray as the ones.
That is the case, because you saw Gibby last week getting those reps with Murray. And so, to your point, if he gets the reps this week with the ones, then you also got to watch for Otis Reese getting some of those reps. But I think Chance Campbell has solidified himself as first team linebacker.
Yes.
with Kyler Murray. With Kyler Murray, with Kenneth Murray, excuse me. But yeah, man, so bad for the rookie, man. Cedric Gray not being able to practice. Those injuries are critical. And I mean, he's missed so much time. You just can't evaluate him.
At
this point. He hadn't had any, any significant action against somebody other than his teammates. And
right.
So, but yeah, man, I love Brownlee Jr., man. Again, he's still flashing.
Yes.
That kid is a dog, man. It's particularly what they wanted for this secondary and Denard Wilson. The defensive line, we saw McClendon. He tore his bicep. He's out for the year. Yeah. But I do like the depth they got on the interior now.
I thought Anderson Abdullah that just signed. Yeah, I know he made a play to the end.
He did. He made a few plays.
He looked good. I thought Coburn definitely is a good spell person. He's a big body.
He can run too.
He can run. Yes, I thought they played a little bit better than what we saw last. You saw a little bit more too.
Yeah.
Of a pass rush from just 4. It wasn't as bad as it was the last week.
Right.
So you saw them able to generate a little bit there, but
Harrell,
So I thought the defensive line actually played decent, especially when you saw the PJ Walker, who's a different type of quarterback, come in. How they were able to kind of contain and still get pressure on him. So overall, I thought that the D line, you saw some improvement there, and I mean, I guess. You have no choice but to improve when you got a video going around of your captain throwing people around like rag dolls.
320-pound man getting tossed like he's that's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Ridiculous. But yeah, I like it, man. I like Coburn. I like Bohannon in that interior as well. He came from Detroit last year, 350-pound D tackle. I'm sorry, Marlon Davidson the one tore his bicep. McClendon Jr., he's just out because he's hurt. Yeah. We still got Sebastian Joseph Day. So I believe the defensive line is in better position than what we thought initially.
Yeah.
Because we all had concerns about the depth behind Jeffrey and Sweat. And so it looks a little better. Of course, the edge, Jalen Harrell, again, to me, he's going to be that guy that's going to spell those first guys.
Oh, yes. Without a doubt. Before
Weaver will come in. They'll keep Weaver, like you said, because of the depth, and he'll be a spell guy. But yeah, and I thought Shane Ray was going to do something. I hadn't really seen a lot out of him either as one of those edge guys. Caleb Murphy, you saw him last night do some things. So we got a few guys there. Right. We got a few guys there that could help. But, man, what I'm excited about for this defense, man, we still hadn't seen Snead and Cheeto yet.
Nope.
And we hadn't seen this whole defense together yet.
We haven't seen it on the field yet, and you probably won't see it Sunday,
right?
Because until week one, I doubt that Jeff plays. We know Snead ain't playing. You might see Diggs for a play. Cheeto possibly back this week. Which again, listen to Callahan. He was like he's just careful with calf muscles. So I'm interested. I'm curious to see this. We have yet to see outside of practice. We have not seen Sweat and Big Jeff near each other on the field.
We haven't. We hadn't seen the total offense, nor have we seen the total defense.
And what does that tell you last night? And again, when you just read the Titans media and Titans fans sometimes can just be way out there. But you saw a lot of comments last night questioning why Big Sweat wasn't playing when everybody want to talk about his conditioning. What does that tell you that the coach is seeing this man? So when Callahan said his starters basically got a full game's worth of reps in the joint practices.
That's right.
And your rookie, who is probably who's a starting nose tackle, maybe his condition ain't as bad as they think. Or maybe he's getting enough in playing shape for them. I mean, the words you keep hearing coming out of the player's mouth.
So much harder, yeah.
Yeah, practice is harder than the game. Yeah. So he could be getting himself in that shape. And they did. I didn't go last night. I stayed and watched it at the house. Mm-hmm. They did. He was the sideline interview. And
was he? Yeah, I saw.
First of all, the personality between him and Jeff, good guy. I can only imagine the amount of noise they could talk. But he looks like he's lost some pounds since he came in, and he said he still got more to lose. So I think he's got the right veterans around him that are going to bring him up. I'm not going to put this on him, but I think he's what everybody wanted Pop-Tart to be.
Yes, I agree with you. 100%.
With better talent. Because Pop-Tart was undrafted, should have went and got the bag, and now look at him. He's on his fourth team and already out of the league. I think Sweat has the right personality and the right leadership around him to bring him along. But I had no problem with him not playing last night, particularly when you hear Callahan saying they're going to get 3 series, which to me is a quarter and a half probably this coming week in a preseason game that they haven't had, and we ain't seen that in 3 years. So I had no problem with T'Vondre being in a jumpsuit on the sideline.
Yeah, and like you said, man, he's getting the reps in practice. And if you go back to the previous game against the 49ers, he played like 5, 6, 7 snaps in a row because they had a drive, right? And so to your point, I think he's in better shape than what some people think.
Yeah.
And that goes to tell you that the coaches, like you said, they see it, they understand, and you didn't have any kind of he should be playing. You know, they didn't come out saying
they didn't come out.
And so, and Callie was up front. You know, he's like, my starters are going to rest because of how they practice this week.
How they practice this week.
Seahawks. So yeah. But and then everything that you see in regards to him at practice, you see him getting to the ball. You see him in the mix. He's hustling. His feet are moving. So I can't wait to see it.
I can't either.
Full package together. Yeah. And you know, Denard is sitting on stuff. He hasn't let everything out yet.
Nah, these blitzes have been vanilla. But I will say.
They are nice, man.
We have seen more line blocker blitzes than we have in 5 years.
Yes.
Last night he ran the double mug twice.
He did run the double mug twice. I even saw Chance Campbell's loop out to the outside one time.
Yep. It was. I mean, they're bringing linebacker. He's got some stuff in his bag, and he ain't opened that bag fully yet. So I'm interested to see that
because he ain't got his starting corners on the field yet.
No, you got Trey Avery, who's going to be who probably
he's got to go.
He's the first name gone.
Yeah, he's got to go. I'm sorry, man, and I hate to be like that, but man, that he's just not a corner in the NFL. He's not.
He can be a practice squad. He can just be practicing with you, but he's not. He don't need to be on the field. I didn't think about it. When the pass was caught last night, I knew the number. I was like,
you did. You texted me as soon as you said that's Avery, right? I was like, yeah, because I saw it too, man. It was kind of hard because it was on the opposite end zone where we sitting. Yeah. But I was like,
Yep, that's Avery.
23.
23.
Never turned his head.
No, and still doing that.
Yeah, still doing that. And like I said, Matthew Jackson, because of depth. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it just dawned on me, and I know he's been out with a hamstring. I really hate that we haven't been able to see Caleb Farley.
I know it.
Because I'm just curious on. And again, when you start looking at corners, Avery's probably playing because Farley's not playing.
Right.
If we being honest, when you start looking at depth and all, so I mean, Avery should be cut, and again, I think he will be because you could probably pick up somebody through the cut zone. But I really hope that Caleb Farley can get healthy enough to get on the field Sunday just to see, because he was having a decent start to the beginning of his camp before he went down with the hamstring.
Yeah, and I don't know, man, and I think just because of how the numbers are and what's behind like Farley and Brownlee, I think he makes the team because of that. Yeah. Because these other guys aren't really panning out unless they say, hey, these guys are gonna play special teams. But I mean, and Farley's future could be a special teams guy when he gets back. But Joe says Avery equals Fulton part 2.
No, I think the
Bleeder Ray Wilson. That's
Will.
He went back to Bleeder Ray. I like that, man. But special teams, J. Lou, does Nick Folk need to be concerned? Is there a kicking competition now after last night?
Is there? No. Should it possibly be? Yes.
So now, go back. Go back to when they brought Stonehouse in here, and we had an old veteran, right? Guy that played for the Titans, been in the league for a long time. Yep. And everybody's like, no way that this rookie comes in and beats out. I don't know if they can keep both of them integrated. I don't know if they can, man.
You can't keep both on the 53.
Yeah.
You can't sneak Braden on the practice squad because somebody's gonna snatch him up.
That kick last night got somebody's attention.
No, that kick was the longest kick last night until Dallas kicker, who's a machine, hit a 66-yarder inside, which I might point out inside.
Yeah,
but
Nathan said it. Rob Baronis, we talked about it last night. He actually had a 60-yard against the Colts.
Yes, that was the kick last night was the second longest kick in Nissan Stadium behind Baronis's.
But you're right, though. Shades of Rob Baronis.
I think he has a $3.5 million tag guaranteed. I believe Folk does this year from the 1 year they signed him. I mean, they're in a position where they can eat some money. It should be a conversation.
It should be a big conversation.
Again, I know this is no knock on Nick Folk, because literally we saw how consistent he was last year, and
no doubt,
that consistency.
No doubt.
I feel like Braden is a year late. Had he been in camp last year, Nick Folk never would even made the team, because remember they went and traded and got him after the issues they were having in camp. But to your point, if you can go with a punter who's all world in his technically third season coming off injury, and you can have a rookie kicker who last night he said they asked him what was his distance on 59, and he said he wasn't even close to what his range was. So I think he's over in the mid-60s.
Seeing it live, it's like he had about 5 or 6 more yards. It could have
made it. TV did the same thing. It did the same thing.
So, but here's the thing you got to think about, J. Lou. So, and I don't know how many years Folks got, but he's on the tail end of his career.
Yes.
I don't know, man. You have an opportunity. This is the Stonehouse situation. You got an opportunity to lock up a young guy, a rookie, that you got him on the cheap right now. You got him on the cheap.
Because he was undrafted.
They didn't draft him.
Brought him in.
He was undrafted free agent. So you got him on a 1 year deal for probably about $400,000, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, $800,000. So you could sign him again real cheap. And you got those two positions are locked up for the next 5 to 7 to 8 years.
You have struggled in the kicking game forever. Yeah. You've got to make like that. It's worth the conversation. And I thought Callahan, he got the questions last night, and he gave you the coach answer. There's no kicking competition, Nick Folk. But behind closed doors, you just don't know. You're like, wait a minute now, because why not solidify, go young at that? It's one thing to go cheap. But if you can go young and cheap and both are still good, then that's a win-win. That's a win all the way around.
and just for the record, your boy Stonehouse was kicking in pregame, man.
Oh, yeah. He's punting this coming Sunday. They said last night they thought about giving him in to get him back in position, but my guy's back.
He's back. And look, in the warm-ups, he was just pushing. He wasn't even
trying.
It was still going 60 yards. I was like, good Lord. He's back.
Yeah.
He's back. But yeah, so Jackson definitely, man, special teams. We got the putter locked up, kicking competition still there, man. Anybody else on your mind that's playing? So, yeah, and I agree with Joe. He said earlier that this week we should see people that are playing for a spot.
I agree.
Any other person, though? So we know Trey Avery, Rashad Weaver, Molden's on the fence, Gibby. Anybody else you could think of that you might say, hey, man, this position right here still up for grabs?
Kyle Phillips better find a way to get healthy where he can play. Because I really think that Mason Kinsey has jumped ahead of him.
He has. I think they like Mason.
I think they like Mason. And again, people are going, when you hear Mason Kinsey, you see wide receiver. This ain't the old version of the Titans wide receiver. He's strictly for the slot. Yeah. Right now, you only have Tyler Boyd as your slot. So those that fall behind him. But I think Kyle Phillips has a lot to try to prove this coming week. Offensive line, it's still up for grabs. Now again, Callahan mentioned today that Petit, NPF, and Dylan have pretty much locked up the right side. He did say he's still open to change his mind, because I think Rupchick has been giving him a run. If anybody been watching this show, they know I've been sold on giving Dylan a shot at the guard spot. Like I want that. Think about it. If you can have Dylan, and we just talked about it with the kicking game. Mm-hmm. If you have Dylan, you have NPF, you hit on JC, and you hit on Peter, your whole line's young.
Yeah,
they're young and growing, and they with Bill Callahan. You want that to work out,
right?
So I think I think he has to have a good showing. But again, I think from that looking at that second team, because injuries happen, you want to see that second staff be able to upgrade themselves. Outside of that, I think you got guys that's just playing as somebody said for a spot. I don't think you're playing for spots here. I think you're playing for spots with your next team. Because again, you got to remember what people got to remember. I think this is if not the second, the third year that the NFL has changed the cut down day to just having one cut. So you got all 90 just ready to go Sunday, and then you'll go down to 53 like 3 days later. So
yeah. Tyrus Killebrew, man, appreciate your comment. He said Burks, man. He said Burks is gonna be fighting for the position.
I don't think
I think he makes the squad easy.
I think it's a no-brainer. Yeah. I think from hearing his coaching staff talk about him and seeing what they've done for him, I think Burks is safe. I go back to the Jackson and Jackson.
Yeah.
I don't think both Jacksons make the 53. I think one goes to the practice squad.
That'd be Kearis.
That'd be Kearis. And the reason I say that is because I personally don't think the folks we've seen returning kicks on kickoff is your starting kick returners come Sunday against Chicago. I think if somebody mentioned Burks, I think you see a Burks. I think you see a Tajay. I think you see the other Jackson make that. I think you see them do some things. Because again, as we talked about, they ain't showing all the tricks right now. And if anybody has watched, now again, the kickoff looks weird until you get used to it, especially when they just stand there looking like they're frozen. But if anybody has really watched it and studied it, and it almost happened last night against us.
It did.
You make one person miss,
it's over.
It's a house call because ain't nobody back up but the kicker. So when you think about your Burkses or your Tajays, guys like that are the good at going through the line of scrimmage and making cuts and making moves like that. That's kind of who you want on the kickoff based off how it's set up. So I think they do some unique stuff with kickoff. But again, I think Burks is set. Given that his position will be to spell D-Hop. Now, I'm not saying he's a starter, but to spell D-Hop. And I think this coaching staff really liked what they see out of him.
You know, and the other telling thing is, and I agree with you about Kearis. Kearis did not get a reception. Did not even have a target last night. So that again should tell you. If you watch, they're already telling you who's doing what. You can see what's happening. But like I said, when Jabari Smalls got reps before Haskins, I was like, oh yeah, that's a done deal.
That's done deal.
That's a done deal. All right, that's a done deal. You'll see more him on special teams, man. But thank y'all for joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjustment. J. Lou, Eddie Arnell tonight. G Witt's out, man. We'll be back next week. New Orleans, man, on the road. Like you said, we might see the starters come in for about 3 series. It'll be nice. It'll be fun to see Big Jeff and Sweat in there together, some live action.
It would be. Oh man, it would be.
To see, I mean, them alone, like you said, them talking. But then you add Arden Key, because Arden Key was showing out on the sideline last night. I don't know if they were showing it, man. He was that.
He was everywhere. Arden Key looked like somebody who had a weight lifted off his shoulder when he talked about the suspension. So he's probably ready to go.
Yeah, man, he's ready to go, man. So one more week of preseason.
One more person that I want to see gameplay because he's just been quiet, but we know he's been decent, and that's Mr. Harold Landry.
You're right. How can we forget Honor? How can we forget Honor, man?
Landry?
We can't forget Honor.
I would like to see. I mean, and from everything you've heard, he's been decent in camp, but that's somebody you want to see if he continues that. Again, this is year 2 from the ACL.
Yeah,
he came on after October, November.
12.5 sacks last year.
Yeah, so you want to see if he continues that going forward. So I forgot about Honor.
So that's another guy that's going to benefit from Sweat, right? Because now again.
You give me one.
They double right. They can't double. Somebody's not gonna get double team.
Yeah,
you only got 5 offensive linemen.
Yeah,
they're gonna have to chip the tight end a lot. Right?
Yes,
they decide to double Big Jeff and single block Sweat. They're gonna have to keep a tight end an extra run. Something's gonna change.
Yeah,
right. And so we're in a good position, I think. And again, until we see the Power Hour, man. Appreciate y'all joining us tonight, man. Say, hey, what's your season prediction for the 2024? I actually think the Titans will win the AFC South. That's my prediction at 10-7. I really do. I really do.
I have them a game under that. I have them fighting for the wild card, but I have them at 9-8. I personally have the very last game against the Texans being a winning end for somebody, and it was here in Nashville, and it'd be great to ruin the Texans season. But I think they can get 9-8.
Okay.
The ceiling to me would be 11. Okay. I think they can get there because I truly think the offensive line is still going to be flawed. Yes, because it's going to take a time to gel. But I think coaching alone is going to help that. But I think what you're going to see is, and Will Levis, he was a sideline interview last night as well. Mm-hmm. He said something that stuck with me was, you can't get bored with the board stuff. Meaning, you can't get bored with all the check downs. Just think about some of his weapons he's got. We saw it in game one. Mm-hmm. The check down to Ridley turned into a 20-yard play. So I think you're going to see this offense that, because of the deficiencies that they still have as they bring the O-line along, I think you see a lot of dink and dunk. But you can dink and dunk your way down the field and score.
Right,
with the weapons you got. So
that's right.
I think that alone is going to help. I truly think that Will Levis, he's going to be a force to reckon with. I just feel it in me.
And I think that's going to be the key for this team. It's the way he plays this year. And so, to your point though about dinking and dunking, we saw this for 2 straight weeks where the Titans have dominated time possession. With the offense that we have, right? Yes. Running 4 wides, running 3 wides, and 1 running back. And so you see it, the dinking and the dunking down the field, like you said, hitting Ridley on the little comeback route across the middle, and then he's out the gate with 20 yards, right? And so I believe you're right. That's what he's going to have to taper himself down. He's known as the big deep ball guy, right? Yes. That's what he wants to do. He's got the cannon arm. He can do that. He's got to be patient. And not try to force the game.
He's got to let it come to him.
You got to let it come to him. And so, and to your other point about the offensive line, it's still going to take some time to gel. We do have to remember J.C. Latham is a rookie playing left tackle in the NFL. He's going to have his moments. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I say 10-7, because there's going to be we're probably going to see some games where we like, man, that's one they let get away. Mm-hmm. Right. It's going to be some of them. Hopefully not. We know that's what we used to right here is the Titans losing those games that they shouldn't lose, but then they should win big on the games they should win. And so I don't think you see that because the coaching is going to be different. They're not going to be so conservative to the chest and try to just grind and pound the ball like we were just talking about. But I do think the way they get to 10-7 is the coaching is going to make a difference in those tight games this year.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I mean, I didn't pay attention to just now when you said that, but 38 minutes to 22 last night, time of possession. But when you talk about dinking and dunking, 22 of 33 on passing.
Right.
So 6 yards a pass, but I mean it was an efficient 6 yards and stuff down the field. So I think that's what you'll see a lot of.
So, and we know, like we mentioned earlier, we know Callie's got some scheming. I mean, he's scheming guys open. I mean, and it's great to see. And again, they were running the base vanilla defense too. So don't misunderstand. But we've seen it for 2 weeks now against some pretty good defenses that he was able to scheme. People open. Yeah. And he's Powell always says, "Do you see a possible upset to Buffalo?"
I already called Detroit. I don't consider.
He called Detroit.
I called Detroit. Like that was the first one I saw the schedule.
He did.
I wouldn't. As crazy as this sounds, because
I know
Buffalo will be favorite. I don't consider Buffalo an upset because I personally ain't sold on Buffalo being the Buffalo we think. Even though they got Josh Allen and he's a mega star.
Right. You got a whole new secondary.
You got a whole new. You just lost your starting linebacker.
Right.
For the year. And you got, let's see what Josh Allen looks like when you took his number 1 and number 2 receiver away. Right. So to me, Buffalo don't seem as dangerous as they have in the past, but I called Detroit the minute the schedule was made that would be the upset the Titans had.
And it's in October 20th.
Yeah.
The weather's still not as bad. It could be, but it's tough playing up there on the road. But like you said, man, I think we match up better with Buffalo than what people gonna give us credit for. It's Dion says Callie got a scheme, but Derrick Henry has to get his touches. Oh wait, this is not very very my bad. Yeah, man. So it's gonna be great, man. But again, we appreciate y'all joining us today, man. Getting your comments and your questions in on halftime adjustments. Hey down there, J. Lou, man. We'll be back next week.
Yes,
Same time, man. Looking at this Saints game. The game is on Sunday, actually,
yeah, the
next
game
week.
is
So
Sunday. Yeah.
so we'll see. I don't know what time it is right now for that game. Is it
Hold
6
on.
or 7?
Give me 1 second. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. It's at 1 o'clock.
1
So
o'clock.
we're good.
It's an
We're
afternoon
good.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. So yeah, join us next week, man. 6 p.m. right here, man. We'll be breaking that game down and seeing what your thoughts are about that game between the Saints and the Titans. And as we see more of the ones next week, hopefully, and then kind of round up who 2 p.m. Eastern. Appreciate that power hour.
Yeah.
And then the following week we'll have our 53-man roster breakdown show, man. And make sure y'all join us for that. Get your comments and questions in on that, and we'll see how it looks. We always like to compare what we think to what they finally come out with, man. But again, thank y'all for joining us, man, for supporting the show. Eddie down there, J. Lou, G. Whit, man, he'll be back with us. I mean, we appreciate y'all again. We